In a world of hyperconnectivity, we seem more disconnected than ever from the living world. A world of natural wonder that has its own systems in place and masters the art of coexistence. We, humans, have placed ourselves outside this way of living, but it can teach us the biggest lessons and leave us in awe. What happens when we reconnect to the nature from which we arose, move in sync with it, and coexist in a symbiotic way? Will we make other decisions? Will it change the way we perceive ourselves? What and who can teach us if we are willing to listen? We invite you to be open and amazed by today's guests as they offer a glimpse into their art of coexistence. I am very excited and honored to introduce our very first guest for this new podcast, The Art of Coexistence. My guest and I met last year, and since then we've already shared beautiful conversations, both online and in person. We can easily talk for hours, but today we invite you to join us for a shorter version of those conversations. And we'll even be sharing a very exciting scoop, so keep listening. I introduce to you Diane van der Marel, an artist, photographer, and impact investor who happens to live on a beautiful land in the Netherlands with the name Oud Terra Nova, or Old Terra Nova. A green oasis that teaches her about life in all shapes and forms. It teaches her about herself, about grief, about growth, control, and letting go, and how we relate to all of the above. Her life's philosophy is literally rooted in the soil. With her hands in the dirt, she finds refuge, a sense of connection, and a grounding power. Through her artistic practice, she gives form and visualizes other people's stories. But today, because she herself has so much to share, we're bringing her own wisdom to you. Diane, welcome to The Art of Coexistence.
Thank you very much. Nice to hear this all about me. Thank you.
Yeah, I bet. It's always interesting to hear how other people summarize what you do or describe what you do. A very important first question I have to start with is, have you been outside today with your hands in the dirt?
Well, dirt is a bit difficult because there's a very white blanket above the dirt, which is called snow here in Holland. We don't have it that much, but it's massive. It's like 50 centimeters deep nearly. So it's a great joy to see a white world here in the Netherlands. And it's a bit spooky for some people because all the traffic, everything gets jumped up. But I think that's the resilience we need more and more in our lives for the future, in fact. So it's it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Nature's beautiful.
So I describe it as a green oasis where you live. So right now it's more of a white winter wonderland. So it's quite different. But have you been outside today? Have you been in the snow? Have you enjoyed your garden?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I try to go outside as much as possible. I also have 2 dogs, so they need a lot of exercise, and so they've been jumping around in the snow. And they're black, so it's a really contrast between the black and the white of the snow. Yeah.
Can you maybe share if something came up for you today? Now, walking in this winter wonderland instead of the green oasis, but you have a strong connection to nature. Was there something that you connected with today, or something that came up when you were outside?
Yeah, I think because of the beauty of it, which really, everybody can see the beauty, but on the other side, it also is kind of for a lot of people with the things they need to do this day, a pain in the ass, really. So you can see the different aspects of nature really doing its thing, and us people trying to move in our own dedicated way of what we want to do, and that just is not in sync anymore. So you see more and more, if nature does things we are not used to, then the whole system really collapses, which I find kind of, Corona was a very big thing with that, but now it's also here in Holland, but it's happened, of course, in Spain as well, It just brings us to stand.
Yeah, it almost paralyzes us in what we're used to do, but it maybe also gives us a moment to stand still and appreciate the stillness of it as well. Is that something you experience now when you go outside, that it's more quiet, or is it, what does it?
Yeah. I think it's something. It's really like a calling from nature in a way, if you look at it that way. I mean, you really can't move literally because it's dangerous outside with my cars, which are don't have the right tires. Everybody's trying to move with airplanes. The whole Schiphol is really crowded. People can't go home.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, we want to move all the time, but we need maybe to ask ourselves where we're moving to.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question already. Well, how would you answer that question yourself?
Well, I think we've made a world where everything is really, we think, very well organized. We kind of try to think we got it all covered. And I think it's I've noticed it's not the right perspective. I mean, being more and more and surrounded by nature, you can see that we are one with nature, and seeing then that everything we do is not in sync with nature, and we're really destroying more than we're bringing back the abundance which nature has in it. Counterproductive in effect. And we are like to be very productive species, and it's not working anymore.
So instead of that you see us moving towards something, can we say that you witness us moving away from something, which is moving away from nature?
Yeah. I think we more and more don't understand it anymore, and that's why we don't understand each other and ourselves. And I think a very important thing is to know thyself, to understand who you are, what you have to bring in this world. And those are a lot of questions I've been asking myself as well. And I can feel a lot being in nature and feeling really a great belonging to be in nature and to work with nature. On the other hand, if I see what I do in daily life when I'm just, trying to be with the people I love, and everybody has his own rhythm in that, it's not in sync with nature. It's only maybe in the holidays, but our whole work system is not. I always say to people, okay, so what have you been doing the whole day, and what has been alive, what you've been around that day? And normally people are in offices or in cars or doing, computer stuff and communicating in that way. And more we're beginning to bend to a more machinal,
more mechanical
kind of world. Even now, this morning, I had a great experience. Well, it was an awful experience, in fact, because I went to a gym. Because I'm getting older and my muscles need to have their workout.
Yeah.
But I'm going into the gym and there's only things mechanical.
Yeah.
So it's my body with the machines there trying to get my muscles working. And I'm like, okay, why am I laughing? I had a laugh all the time because I found it so funny that I was moving the machine all the time, and that was going to be good for me.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I really need to work on these muscles, but is this the way? And they're all, in fact, it was so computerized that it recognizes me, and then I'm doing a pack game where I'm following with my movements.
Okay.
I'm following a pack kind of machine, so I have to do it in the right way, so I get my points and I get my reward. I was like, okay,
yeah, this is a gamification. Yeah, because you also spend a lot of time in your garden, and then in your garden you have to move a lot as well, I suppose. And then you're just moving with a natural rhythm. You're moving with the natural path that is laid in front of you. So I can imagine that this is this gamification of having to move with mechanical items is a very different experience. I do want to ask, because you already described it quite beautifully, but can you tell us a bit about your relationship with nature and about the land that you have in the Netherlands, and what it means to you, and what your journey has been to get there and to realize how important it is for you?
Yeah, and it has been a journey, and it still is. I think that's the right way of saying it, putting it, because I think if I look at myself like 20 years ago, I came from the city. I gave birth to 3 daughters, and I was very much conscious about nature in the sense I am now. So it's been a journey, and it's been a journey where I was taught a lot from the garden, because fact, when I got a really big garden, and it was not something I really thought I was going to have in my life, and even saying I have a garden I feel more that I'm a guardian for it.
Okay.
I like the French landscapes where everything is more wild in that sense, and when I'm in Holland, everything is so controlled. Where every grass spread is the way we want it. So it's a bit my rebel mind against what we all want to control. And there's so much nature here, and also there's so much birds and other animals living here, and I was very conscious of that as well, that I'm sharing something, but I never knew how to do it. And I think when somebody maybe 7 years ago mentioned the word permaculture, and I looked it up, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh gosh, this is all the words now together, all the system thinking together, which I truly feel and believe in. So I got a method of working with the garden that I didn't know again. So I was very much taught like, oh, you should have like, how they called borders. Yeah, borders, where you have the flowers, and then you have the certain way of designing a garden. And it's very woman thought. So we want the plants to be beautiful and to have the right scenery.
Yeah, it's very cultivated. It's not
very cultivated. Yeah. And I think that's where we as humans, that's where we go wrong. And a garden is such an important part because it's where you are together with all the life around you. So it's a very much building relationship kind of thing if you observe it more. And that's the first word I learned with permaculture. Please don't do that much. Observe first.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, there's a lot of wisdom in that, because once you kind of stay still, don't touch, and look, and then really try to realize, what is my role in this garden? And what can I do for it to bring back as much abundance as possible, not only for me as human, but also for all the non-humans living things. So once you bring in abundance, and you bring in the right plant in the right place, and you try to give them space to get there, to get rooted in the right way, there's just magic happening. And I think that's something you can't do that with your chairs, and you can decorate really nicely in house, but the feeling what you get if you bring back life into the ground and into your garden is very profound.
Is that a feeling that you see also reflected in other parts of how you live life now? When you explored that in your garden, is this a certain philosophy that you took over in how you approached your way of living, or how you approached other people or projects? Or
yeah, I think I really would like to show people it more, and I can see that. I bring people into the garden and I show them. I let them taste things. I make medicine, herbal teas, and salvias. What's that in English?
Ointments. Yeah,
because nearly all the plants have something to give. So a lot of the medicine we have now is all related to plants, and we forgot that kind of wisdom within the plants. So a young willow branch, if you just chew on it, it's aspirin. Luckily, my husband's always very much, he needs to see it before he believes it. And he believes it now because he has seen it.
Yeah, there's proof.
It really changes. There's so much for us to find in the ground. And it's the most healthy system there is for us as persons, and also for the whole world. And it sounds so obvious. It sounds so obvious. When I'm saying this, I'm like, oh yeah, everybody knows this. But in our life, we're not doing anything with it. We're putting glyphosate in the ground. We're putting PFAS in the ground. We're putting, and for what? What kind of world would we like to live in? So I'm trying to do it a lot with my work and with the garden, and trying to show also young people how this works, and that get them to feel it. But actually, it's the whole thing we're doing the whole day. How does that contribute to a healthy planet and a healthy system and a healthy body or healthy relationships? We lost that.
I would like to go a little bit deeper with you, quite literally, because I remember from a previous conversation that we had as well, is that when you And you put it really beautifully, and I'm going to paraphrase you now, but when you put your hands in the dirt, and this is also why I mentioned this in my introduction, that something happens to your nervous system, and that you've also seen that happening with others, and that is a very different way for you to connect with yourself, with nature, and with others that are around you at that time, or with others that spend time with you in the garden. Can you explain a bit what exactly happens, or what do you feel coming up when you put your hands in the dirt and when you lean against a tree?
I really got connected with the soil, and maybe that's what you were referring to as well. When I put my hands in the soil was also when I still was with my sister, and she kind of let go of life in a way. So she was very much in psychosis, and in a way, then the mind doesn't work in the way we know how the mind should work, and she got out of touch of the ground, in fact. And the moments we were together, we could connect, was the moments we both had our hands in the ground, or were very much connected to nature. And that is, she left life, so she ended her own life in the end, and that of course is a great loss. But I've seen that there, for her, there, in fact, I could see that there was not really, with the ill mind she had, there was no other way really which she could live a normal life here, how we have made it. So she was very much against how life and how our whole society had been going. And she was right for a certain part as well. But letting go of her, and also I letting go of my other sisters. I lost two sisters. I also had a twin sister, an identical twin sister, who was severely handicapped and was not, well, she was between life and she wasn't there. In fact, she did have a body, she did live, but her whole mind was not in a recognition we would see. So both sisters died because life was different. And maybe that has also formed me, that I understood that we want to control a lot of things, and we don't want to let go of things. And I've learned to let go of two people which were very, very dear to me and very near to me as well. And a lot of people lose people, and I think that's maybe something we should embrace more, and see that this is the cycle of life as well, and of love, in fact. And that it's also very important to ground. And that grounding can only happen if you, also for me, after especially my second sister died, it was a grounding experience to just go back into nature and back into the garden and just work with that. And it helped me a lot. And I can see it also with a lot of young people. I have 3 daughters now grown up, but the struggle they're in about not being connected with the others, and the pain that gives sometimes, all these struggles, how they should be a certain person, how it's always been there, but it's now gone worse and worse. But it's very individualistic society we're building up.
It also sounds like from this story that connecting with them seemed difficult on the human level as we know it. So connecting with the mind was a difficult task for both of them. What exactly happened with your second sister when you were together in the garden? How did you feel that connection? Was it through conversation, or was it through just being together? What was it that you experienced?
Yeah, it's a good question. I could see that her mind also, and my mind, of course, as well, wasn't going all the way, because there were voices in her head talking to her. That was obvious. And those voices quiet down. So she could quiet down her own mind by doing that. And it also grounds you once you're in soil and you're busy with plants. They give back all the time. And I really would, if anybody listening here want to inspire them to put their hands into the ground and get them really dirty.
Mm-hmm.
You will feel it. I mean, I find it always difficult to really explain it by words. There are a few great people nowadays who like the Braiding Sweetgrass. I would definitely recommend that book. She talks as also an indigenous person from America, and she talks about nature in a way we can reconnect with it.
Yeah.
And also in words. And but it's a feeling. You will feel it once you set your hands in the ground and you're busy with plants.
Mm-hmm.
They talk back. I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago, but I now definitely know that plants really make contact.
Yeah. And it's probably with a different voice that we're used to. It's not the human voice that is maybe talking back.
Yeah. It's because there's a lot of energy and things around us we don't see, and there's a lot of way of thinking. We try to control things we don't understand by science and everything, but science, only thing science ever does is try to get it factualized. So then, it should be understandable on its own, but nothing is on its own, and that's our biggest miscomprehension. We're all connected. Everything is connected. So everything has a certain involvement with the other.
Mm-hmm.
So if we cut those things loose and we think, oh, but this is the case, then we're not grasping the whole picture. So we can't solve the problems we have now with the mind. And it's not possible.
No. And with your personal story that you just shared as well, everything is connected, and here the life and death is also very much connected for you. From what I understood of it is that after that experience, things shifted for you as well. Like you also look at relationships maybe in a different way, and looking at loss and control in a different way, because there's nothing you can control about life and death, right?
That's really, I think that's really has been about letting go, and not. There's a lot of trauma in there, because you always think, if something happens like that, could I have done better? What could I have done? And I've really understood that I couldn't have done anything. This is how it was supposed to be, and this is what happens. But it's also about what I saw, what her illness made worse and worse, is about not being in contact with other people. So it's all about, staying in contact with yourself, with others. We really need each other, and we really need nature together with us.
What are the thoughts and the feelings that come up?
I think a lot what happens is it quiets your nervous system a lot. And that's also scientifically totally been investigated. But it also brings you back to a profound feeling of belonging. And it also brings the playfulness back, because we kind of lost to be playful. And I think we're very playful people. So, getting dirty, in effect, with nature. I mean, if you get kids in a mud, they start to play with it. And that's if my dogs, even if they see mud, they love it. And so it's a very much thing we are. And there's so much life also in that dirt. I think if we want to go to the future, we should look, how can we make a system which does work, which is resilient enough to be in the same sync with the whole planet. I think they're getting the right stories, getting the right words, getting the right imagination is essential to bring us to this new thinking of who we are.
I think that's a nice bridge to actually talk about your personal artistic practice, and maybe also the other things that you do as an impact investor. So in my introduction, I mentioned a few titles that I think belong to you, which is an artist, photographer, and impact investor. What would you say at this moment, right now, today, is the one that you identify with most?
Ooh, it's a good question, because they all collide together in effect. I think that trying to get the right stories across, And I try to do with the impact investing, I try to do that as much as possible with things where stories are made. So that's documentary work. That's also platforms like Waterbear, which is a great platform if you want to get inspiration about new thinking about nature restoration projects and everything. It's a documentary. A lot of good people are joining that. And on the other side, I made a documentary myself about regeneration. I worked together with We Are the Regeneration to show a really nice project in the hills of Catalonia in the Pyrenees, where a river is drying up, in fact. And that whole river, which is called the Muga, that's also the name of the documentary. And Muga, it sounds a bit like mother, but it is like a mother, because what the river does, it gives water to the whole north of Costa Brava. And I mean, Costa Brava, that's where all the people go for holidays, a lot of people, and where they fill up their swimming pools, and where they're very dependent on water. And nobody gets the relationship that if the river doesn't flow, there is not going to be water. And we just think, oh no, it's going to be fine. It's not going to be fine. It's a huge problem. And also fire, if things are drying out, it's a huge problem. And the whole ecosystem within the whole Catalonia, within the Pyrenees, is not in the right, doesn't work, because there's too many oak trees which are sucking up the water because of a system of coal. It's a complicated story.
The balance, it's not in balance anymore, basically.
It's not in balance. And the whole documentary explains that how nature works, how people work, and how they can work together. And it's all about regeneration.
So that is a recent project that you participated in actually making the documentary yourself.
So together with a team, of course.
Yeah, of course. And there in that project, you had the role. It was more of an artistic role because you were directing or filming the documentary.
Well, there's another filmer, but together we made the story together. And I found it the voice of the river was one of the things which was quite exciting to do, but worked really well. And I was also the initiator of it, because I knew both the projects, both the foundations of We Are the Regeneration, telling the stories of a lot of people who are busy with ground up rooting projects to really bring back life into different areas. And then this concrete project of this Dutchman, Stefan Donge, who is with a lot of people around him, regenerating 100,000 hectares of the Pyrenees for fire prevention and getting back life again, like the water flowing and the animals back again. And it's a fascinating story to tell. And also we hoped with the movie that it's not only to explain people, but also to give the feeling of belonging again. So we filmed it in a way that people really want to belong and want to participate in these kind of things.
It's a beautiful documentary. I've watched it myself, of course. I am curious for you as a photographer as well, when you use a lens to tell other people's stories, and in this case with the camera, you're using that lens to visualize the story of the Muga Valley and of the community in that area. How do you think a camera helps you, or what does this lens that you carry with you mean to you?
I think what a lens does is it of course it's your framing. Whenever you're using a camera, you're using a frame, and you're directing people to get them to see something and move them in a way if you do it the right way. It's bringing light to things, because photography is about lighting. It's always about light and capturing light. I'm more a photographer than a filmer. You try to touch people on things they know, but they haven't really considered or seen before. So like I did a project on the gardens of the Palace Soesdijk here in Holland. And with 5 other artists, I was the photographer, and the other artists used more the soil and the leaves and everything to make other art work. But I went in the whole year in that park where nobody ever was anymore, because it's totally it's not used anymore by royal family, and it's now trying to develop its own story. But the story, what I found there is that in autumn, you had a lot of ferns and they turn gold. They really turn
Yeah.
gold. With the right lighting, they are like gold. And so you had these really big trees and the golden ferns and everything just turned into gold, which I found so fascinating because this of course is the natural gold. So we in fact we're very much attached to gold. We find the value in gold very big.
Mhm.
But in fact this was a whole golden environment. So I brought back the natural gold into the palace, which I found a very nice thing to do. And people felt it because we were telling the stories about bringing back the nature into an old palace and telling the stories on why the beauty of things we kind of lost in the last century. We were very conceptual with art, and now finally, and I'm really happy with that. You can see that people are getting attached more, that it can be beautiful, because when beauty really touches us, and I feel that if we are not touched by things, we will never change our way of thinking.
Is that also what you would say your focus is when you want to tell another person's story? Do you see that as a role for you, that you bring the beauty in the story, the aesthetics of it? Is that
Yeah, the magic.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we need the magic. We need to fall in love again, and we need the magic to really want to take care of things again. We're not taking care of nature, and we are, and that really saddens me as well.
Is this something that you think some people with really good ideas are lacking, that they don't know how to convey their story in a way that is emotionally appealing? Is this something that you're witnessing around you, or is it?
Well, I've always thought, and I still think that artists are a very important part, especially when things are not going well. So where we're going now with more and more violence, power movements, we see it all around us all day. It frightens us, and so we get really stuck. We get paralyzed, and luckily there's also always artists which show ways in new perspectives and new ways of doing things. So they're the active ones. So when artists become activists, in fact, and that is happening now more and more. So I started a foundation like 12 years ago, which is called Me Up, Message in a Photo. And I was very much looking at the documentary photographers who were telling stories. But in that moment, it was nice, but it wasn't seen as art. And it was nice that stories were told, but it didn't have. And now more and more, you can see that people are watching documentaries. Artists are really very much trying to tell and try to get people to really feel again what they're missing. So you see more activistic artists coming up now. And I'm really happy with that because you could feel already that we were not going the right way. And then artists standing up and making work, which kind of brings us off balance and makes us re-see and reimagine what's right in front of us. That's what we always have needed.
Is that something you can see yourself doing as well, being activistic in your art?
Yeah, more and more. And also, I think what I also do a lot is that I try to combine artists together as well. So I feel it's really important that artists also work more and more as a collective. And not only the artists, but the artists work together with scientists, artists work together with other kind of people. So I think that's a very important part.
But what would activism look like for you if you would do it, if you would be activistic in your art?
It's a good question though. I would really want to surprise people. And I would like to, I was very much honored that also in Paleis Soestdijk, I had somebody who saw my work and started crying. And I was like, wow, this is what, it brings up emotions.
Yeah.
And I think once we bring up emotions with people, then we have a new playground to work with.
Yeah, I think because what happens then is how I perceive it, but correct me if I'm wrong, if that's different for you. But when something like that happens, you can actually engage people and bridge them towards connecting back with nature, because that is what you were doing in Soestdijk as well with the ferns and the gold, is that you're showing the beauty of nature and then bringing the outside inside, and those aesthetics that then trigger, like the beauty that triggers emotion, makes that people understand why it is needed to stay connected with it.
Yeah,
So that's,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's maybe also the whole garden part, where I really feel that if we want to change the story, we can do it because we don't know what to do anymore. We are very much looking at okay, everything's going wrong. What can I do? And there's a lot of power right in front of you in working. So it's very much community driven, and also the community is not only people. So we always think of, when we talk about community or ecosystems, we're talking about people. We're not only talking about people, we're talking about all the life around us. And I feel that more and more, that's an important thing to reconsider. We really lost that. So if we do things, we throw things away, or if we are busy with planting, for example, plants, we should consider the plant has a certain
a role to play
value
as well. Yeah. I think maybe this is actually a really good moment to announce the scoop that I mentioned in my introduction, because you were talking about bringing artists together. We're talking about people and the more than human organisms all being part of a community. Do you maybe want to announce and share this scoop that you have? What is going to happen?
Yeah, so the scoop is that I have the fortunate that I have a really big garden, but also there's a more different buildings on this ground as well. And one of the very nice houses just on the lakeside of the river, the Vecht, it stands. And it is a house where we've all subletted a lot of years, but we now are ready for making it an artist in residence place, a place where we can bring together a lot of different people, where we can make dialogues, where we can make expositions, where we can have artists staying and working, but also always artists which are working with the garden, with the nature, and a place where you can really try to reconnect. It's a creative place and space to see what can be happening if we work together again.
Yeah, I'm personally also very excited about this, because I visited your garden, of course, and it's a beautiful place. And you're now basically opening the doors to anyone that wants to create and reconnect with nature, and also create with nature, but then have some collaborative things going on as well with other artists or with previous artists.
Yeah, and also with people who don't know about art. So get them also to come here and make, like, also because there's a lot of food coming out of the garden. So you can imagine in the summer that we can have great dinners outside, where you bring together people who would normally not meet each other. I think staying in contact with people, and also the diversity of people. So if you look also at the permaculture, it's very important that you bring back diversity into things, and then new things can happen. It's thing I'm very enthusiastic about.
Yeah.
I've worked together with artists in the past with MIAP, with grant system of foundation, where also there was a fellowship. But I'm really happy now that there's also a place and a space where things can come together a longer time. So we're going to work with the different seasons. So you have different artists or different kind of work which is made or shown in the different ways of how also nature plays. So now it's time for reflection, because people are, it's winter and we shouldn't move too much. Well, we're seeing that now.
Yeah.
And then more in spring, grassrooting things are developing. And in summer, of course, it's going to be a big playground where you can really exhibit and do a lot of things. And then, of course, in autumn, you will be collecting. It's the more collecting kind of thing. And in winter, again, with the reflection. So we're going to really see the cycles happening and see also what meaning it can have for artists and for people who are interested in it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So we're really trying to see, not fill in everything, but also try to see what will come up. And we're now working, of course, on a website and on the right text to explain what we're doing, and that's going to be online end of February, March, where people can really see what's happening and also apply if they want.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. That's the best of the scoop, is that people can actually apply for it as well.
Yeah.
So you expect it to open the doors around March.
Yeah, I think that's a good place. It's going to be spring, so we're going to try to grassroot the things also here, and step by step try to fill in what is needed. I mean, what comes up. I think a lot of the work I have been, how I've done my studies, that you have to control everything. You know, you're really, and I find the role of an artist one where you can let go. So I find you make a few boundaries, of course, like the garden has a few boundaries, but then please also, we should also try to not be afraid of chaos, try not to be afraid of things we don't know. I think if we're more resilient on things happening and seeing every time, what does this mean? What can we do with it? So this is also with this thing, not trying to get it too much. It should be this, it should be that. But let's see who comes up. So anybody listening to this and feeling, oh, this is something I would really like to know more about, please come in contact.
Yeah, we definitely we will put something in the show notes, and once it's live, then we'll share it as well, of course, so that people don't have to wait too long for it. And I think you're really taking a step back at what you're also doing in your garden. So you're really letting go of that control. You're taking a step back to see what's happening. So what you see in your garden is things will seed itself. And it sounds like this is also kind of what you want to do with this project, is that you take a step back and you see what happens, and then things will cross-pollinate and maybe seed themselves as well. And then
and change the story. I think if you need places where there's room to change a story, to get an open view on what can happen if you bring something new to the table. And I think what I wanted to say also about the garden, because a very important part of a garden is not only the growth, it's also the decay. And I am fascinated about composting, because in composting something new is coming up. So we cannot only get the beauty and the new stuff if we are not also able to see and live in things that are dying and are trying to renew itself. Building good compost for a new seeding bank, for a new ground, for new life is so essential. We always forget that this is also a big part of life, because we only want to live. But in a good life is also the right way of going.
Yeah. It's a fertilizer. It's a fertilizer for the soil that then brings the life again, I suppose.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
way.
And I think that if we learn that again, we'll make a big step, because then we let go of things which are not needed anymore. And we are able to redevelop a new story as well. That's where the healthy system goes again.
Bringing everything together with that comes also maybe that we're not really having that really stable fertilized basis, or that soil from which we can grow as a person as well. So in the literal sense, if you look at the soil in nature, everything is connected and it's feeding each other, it's communicating with each other, and that's something that we need to do above ground as well. But you mentioned before that composting for you is also an important part, not just in nature, but also in other ways of how we see society. So how would you define composting, if not in the natural sense, but more in the societal sense?
Yeah, well, I find that I always talk about, because I'm as an impact investor, I talk a lot about money as well, if you're referring also to that, because the funny thing is we invest a lot. So we invest our time, but we invest a lot of money, and a lot of talk we are having, and also young people, they all want to make a lot of money. But what is money? So if you invest, that's, everybody wants to be an investor. They're all these, the clever jobs. But what are you investing? You're investing money in something, and then you're getting money back, and you want to have more money back. What has happened in the process between that? I think that's a very fascinating thing. So if you haven't brought value in, but only more money, nothing has changed. So I try to talk, if you're talking about impact investing, I try to talk about composting.
Yeah, okay.
Composting money. So bring new values, really emphasize on the value system which you are creating with your money, and try to see if there's more life brought back once invested, and look at a future thing. So a lot of investing is done for quick money, but that money won't bring anything in the future. And if we look at what life do we want in 20 years and not in 5 or 10 years when we need to sell out again, what is that? I mean, and then you have a totally different gameplay. You have a totally different conversation. You are talking about next generations. You're talking about the life you would want your kids or your grandkids to lead. And I feel that we are not talking about these things. We are. If I listen to other podcasts about investing, and they're only looking at how much money can you make in a short period of time. But isn't that just totally irrelevant of all the life you want to have beside that? But we're all doing it. So how do we get out of this rat race and go back to the ground where everything is starting? And I do see that a lot with farmers. And not farmers, we have farmers, young farmers, regenerative farmers, some fashion designers. They are really trying to understand again how the whole system works and how we can redevelop from bottom up a system which does regenerate, which does give life back. In fact, regeneration is about giving life back so that new life can come. And our whole money system is not working that way. And it's, it will implode one day. I'm totally certain of that. And then it's very fascinating on what have we built up on the ground again. So I always say, when you have the big oaks, now we have a lot of big oaks. We've got great oaks which are standing, they find very firm. They've got all the power. But you only need a good fire or a good water thing, and the oaks go. So if you have a good breeding ground underneath, which is very much interconnected, once, you need sun to grow. Once the sun goes, so the oaks go, the sun comes in. And then if you have it good connected, it will grow immensely fast. And that's where I invest in a lot, my time, my money, and everything. And also the stories which are in there, to get that coming to life, get that interconnected as good as possible. So it's strong enough, once the sun shines on it again, that it can sprout very easily and bring a new system, which really is much more about life for everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about communism or anything. I'm just talking about that it's a more healthy system.
Yeah, because in the way you explain it with the one oak versus all the other things that can exist once that one oak disappears.
The diversity of
exactly. I was going to say it's much more nutrient, it's much more rich, and a lot of different things can actually come from that collaborate. So it's a more collaborative system because it's so well interconnected, and it's not just that one lonely large oak
gets all the water, like in Catalonia. Yeah, because that happens. Yeah. That's really what happens. So it's a metaphor, but it's also real life. It really happens also in that sense. So it will also, the oaks will go one day.
In the monetary world, you mean?
Not at the moment, if you see what's happening in the news every day. Yeah.
So how as an impact investor do you, because you say you use the word composting a lot as an impact investor. And what does that look like in practice?
Then really emphasizing on the value part. So if you have a compost hope which stinks, it doesn't work. So you need a healthy compost, and that really smells really well. So you can sometimes really touch. It's always about people. So I always invest in people. I invest in the stories they tell, in how they interconnect with other people, how they are willing to be vulnerable, to tell the true story, and how they work together with others. My emphasis is on storytelling, and I think if we really want to move forward, we should change the story. So of course, then the artists come in
to tell that story in an appealing way.
Yeah, a lot of the things I'm doing now, and luckily also now, beside me, is helping artists to find a place where they can work and show and discuss on what they're doing, and then finding the right people to see this as well and to experience it. Yeah.
If I would ask you now, what is a person, like either an artist or maybe a book or maybe a film or maybe even a plant or tree that inspires you, what would you share with people?
There's so many things now coming up. What I would like to...
Okay, you can name 3. I'll give you 3.
I really like the work of Anaïs Lopez. As an artist, I support it as well, and she makes such great multimedia kind of stories. There's not only photos, there's also film. She collaborates with a lot of artists. So she has a project which is running now. It's going to be in the Scheepvaartmuseum coming year. And it was in the Japanese Seabold Museum just last year. It's about a monk and a turtle. And here you see human, non-human already. And it's all about how in Japan, it's all about her journey to Japan. She also just lost her sister and she was pregnant. And then she went and she really wanted to find something which the monk had. And then she went on this 10 years, and she really went for it, quest, and she came back and you have to see it yourself. In the end, of course, it was right in front of her, but she looked the wrong way. So I think it's like a poetry, a story of belonging and of grief and of where the real truth is. And because what she collaborates with painters of Japan. So you have this also intercultural way of imagination, which makes it really, really interesting. So she also talks to the animals in the wood, which tell her the stories. But it's like you would say, oh, this is very much imagination, but it's like it's really happened for her.
Okay.
So it's fascinating how she brings back all these stories.
That sounds really beautiful.
So that's a really big one. And I love the words which Robin
Kimmerer, from the Braiding Sweetgrass.
Her book, the Braiding Sweetgrass, is really, it's like a Bible for me. Every time I reread or re-listen her way of talking about nature, because you can see how we are interconnected if you use the right language. And that's for me, that's really something to practice, to use the right language to explain so that people can feel it and not only think it. Yeah, I think I'm more and more convinced that if we bring that more to the table, we will have different discussions. It's about not what do you think, it's about what do you dream.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing those. I have one more last question before we round up this conversation. We would really like to give the listeners a souvenir from you, from this journey that we have been on with you right now. So if you have to give us one task or activity, which we then call a souvenir, something that we can do or experience today or tomorrow, maybe, depends on when people listen and when it's possible for them. What would you give us as a souvenir?
I would definitely try to really connect with something which is alive. And of course, just go to a place which is as much nature as you can find it at that point, and maybe revisit it a few times, and then just observe what is happening around you. So try to be 360 degree in living things, and then you will already have to consider what is alive and what isn't alive. That already is a step, because you will find a lot of places, oh no, that's not alive, oh, that's not alive. But really somewhere where everything around you is alive, so it's nature. And the only thing you need to do then is just put an open mind. Just observe. And there's so much in observation. And you can observe by your eyes, you can observe by your ears, you can observe by your smell, you can observe by your touch. So use all these things to observe. And then do it you can put a timer on if you want, but just observe for at least 15 to 20 minutes and see what happens to you. And see after that if you want to do it again.
Beautiful. We'll make sure to do that. And I'm very curious what everyone's experience will be with it. Diane, thank you so much for sharing all your personal stories, but also your wisdom and your dreams for the future and for us, for yourself.
Yeah, let's start dreaming a lot. We need the dreams to go to a new future. Yeah.
Thank you very much again for also being our first guest on the art of coexistence.
It's great how you interview, and I listened to all your other interviews and podcasts before, and I was very enthusiastic about that. Very nice way of interviewing people.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you for listening to The Art of Coexistence, a podcast produced by our Celian publishers. Editing by Axel Fruman, music by Mark Omen, and hosted by me, Daphne Fruman. Find us on your favorite podcast app and give us a follow, like, subscribe, and or share, and we'll see you again soon.